Good morning. My name is David Jones, and my pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm a member of the worship committee, and I'll be your worship associate this morning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in your life's journey, you are welcome here. Welcome to this virtual service of the Unitarian Society of New Haven. We are a diverse, multi-generational faith community that inspires lives of compassion and generosity, nurtures spiritual growth, cultivates transformative connections, and creates a more just world. This is a congregation that believes Black lives matter, that every person has the right to affirm their own gender identity, and that all people are inherently worthy. We acknowledge that our sanctuary sits on the land traditionally that of the Quinnipiac and other Native people, and as a congregation we seek to heal the wounds of the past and present in ongoing work of reconciliation. If you're joining us for the first time, we're so glad that you've decided to be with us. We meet electronically for now, but we know that we will be together again in person. The email address of the membership team is on the screen, and you can visit usnh.org to find out more about us. There will be a Zoom meeting especially for newcomers immediately following the service. Our call to worship today is number 434 in the Gray Hymnal. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations, and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Now let us settle in, take a deep breath, and let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich. My pronouns are she and they. These are the words of the Reverend Dr. Deborah Hafner. Happy New Year. Happy New Year for our beloved community. Happy New School Year. Happy New Year, L'Shana Tova, to those of you from Jewish backgrounds as you celebrate Rosh Hashanah. We gather together at the start of this new year as people of many ages, as people of many sexual orientations and gender identities, as people of many races and ethnicities, as people of many theologies and religious backgrounds. Woven together in our love for this community, with our hopes and dreams and prayers for the year before us, with our hearts and minds and spirits ready to be touched by the year before us, with our hands and time and talents ready to be offered in the year before us. We gather together at the start of this new year with gratitude and love for those who have come before us, for those who stand here with us. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year.
We are not alone, earth and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living liturgies of care. Let us be a house of welcome, living stone, a molding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not our own.
There is perhaps no more sacred and important act in Unitarian Universalism than the co-creation of a shared covenant. Since we're not a religion that looks to a rule book or a single source of power to govern us, we rely on communication, agreement, and shared understanding of how we are going to be together, and that is covenant. This year, with us starting a new ministry with Reverend Linda Susan, and with us relying more and more on meeting each other from inside our little Zoom boxes and other internet-based ways of gathering, it is more important than ever that we work together to be in covenant when we do so. So let us look for inspiration to the children and youth and the covenants that they created last year. It is always inspiring to me to observe what happens when young people are invited into the process of deciding how they will share learning space and how much ownership they take of it when the covenant is shared rather than imposed. The youngest children last year focused on treating each other with respect, raising hands to speak, listening to each other. And one thing that made it on their covenant that certainly applies to this year, we will share everything except our germs. In the upper primary class, students focused again on respect, kindness, patience, especially when waiting for snack to be served, and on the importance of having fun. By upper elementary age, students began to go beyond respect and patient listening, urging each other to be gentle with each other's mistakes. This is an age where getting laughed at or ridiculed can be quite scarring, and the students showed their awareness of this by urging gentleness in their covenant. Students in the middle school grades, that's 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, also called for respect, kindness, and gentleness, but they began applying specifically Unitarian Universalist ideas. They called for respectful exploration of all religious and spiritual ideas. They asked for the use of the democratic process in classrooms. They called on each other to acknowledge the possibility that multiple truths could coexist peacefully in classroom discussions. They also asked each other to be stewards of the environment. Finally, the high school youth group zeroed in on interpersonal relationships in their covenant. They called on themselves to examine what they might say before saying it, checking themselves for prejudgment and bias. They asked themselves to seek consent from each other in their interactions, to express themselves authentically from the heart, and to keep confidentially, even as they look out for each other's safety. These examples shared from last year's covenants are just the tip of the iceberg of the incredible depth reached each year in these children and youth covenants. I could go on forever about how much I have learned from witnessing their development, but I'm going to leave you today with just three more details. First, it is vitally important that people beyond just the students in a class be invited into covenant. Each year, parents, teachers, myself as the Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and the minister are invited to sign and abide by each class's covenant. Number two, a covenant is only as good as the people who agree to it. When these covenants are created on the first day of class each year, everyone also agrees that they are going to be loving, gentle, and kind when they invite others back into covenant. This is especially important when somebody in the class says or does something that is not covenantal. Here we remember the words of Rumi reminding all of us, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come. Finally, these covenants are never, ever finished. Children and youth return to them again and again to adjust, to tweak, to check that they still remain in sacred agreement. So I invite you all watching this about to enter into covenant with each other. May it be so for all of us. Blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Susan Meredith. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Let us turn our attention to the concerns of this community. I invite you to join me in holding in our hearts the joy and sorrow of those around us, even if virtually. Today, some woke with a sorrow so great they asked for the help of this community to carry it. Others woke with a joy so great it must be shared. We are sad to share that Marty Lipnick of this congregation died suddenly on Friday morning. Joan Lane shares, Barbara Thomas, my Oberlin College freshman year roommate in 1968-69, died from complications of cancer last week at her home in South Carolina. My thoughts are with her brother Billy and her wife Penny. For the joys and sorrows that haven't been spoken, but which remain in the silent sanctuaries of our heart, we bear witness.
Our meditation this morning is number 480 in the Gray Hymnal, and afterwards we will have a brief time of silence. Let us open our minds and hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love.
In Unitarian Universalism, the congregation is the highest level of authority. Now, we're in covenant with other congregations through things like the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, but ultimately, we set our own priorities, we elect our own leaders, and we're responsible for raising our own money. That means that the generosity that you offer this community is directly related to how much we can accomplish together. So as the offertory plays, I invite you to go to usnh.org and in the upper right-hand corner, click where it says Plate Donation and give as generously as you can. Your generosity drives everything we do. Thank you so much.
Our reading this morning is I Choose You, I Am Here by Emma Merchant. I have never been particularly attached to the idea of family. Do you know the Swiss Family Robinson? It's the story of how a family worked together and survived. It never reached beyond a story for me. It never occurred to me that some people actually felt this way towards their bloodline, that the lineage was sacred. To me, it always seemed that blood could be spilled. I have always felt that when people identify family as something important and universal, what they are truly addressing is unconditional love. That is not to say that I hate the idea of family, But I've always been more enchanted by the idea of chosen family. The thought that we are each making a choice to be here in this family, in this community, is powerful. We have actively chosen to come and be here. I'm not stuck with you because you're my cousin and I'm not allowed to be rude. I could leave if I wanted to, but I don't because of the way that we have each nurtured this community. I choose to be stuck with you for better or for worse. And we have continuously made this choice over and over again. Every time we attend worship, every time we donate our time and energy, every time we clasp hands in meditation is a promise. I am here for you. The DNA of this community may be metaphorical, but it exists within me. The words covenant and right relation are second nature, placed on my tongue almost since birth, but they are words that I have chosen to bring into my life. My heart beats with the blood of this church, pounding out, I choose you, I am here. This is a safe place, a place of learning, a place of compassion, a space created by the very idea of love. We chose to build a sanctuary because we chose to be together. There is no use for a church of people who hate each other or a church of ghosts. We make the choice to stay stuck together even when we don't want to be in the same room. But we always come back to the table because we choose to be together. Through thick and thin, we have chosen love. And in hard times, struggling times, times that we face every day, we come together even closer. We make the choice to listen to each other, we make the choice to pick each other up, and we make the choice to love each other. We have built this community with our commitment to that love. We all have many different reasons for being here, but I like to think that we all have one common reason for being here: love. Over everything else, we are here because we are the people who choose love. We do not have a bloodline, but we have a deep, unconditional love that runs through us all. We choose that love. We choose each other. Our hearts echo, I choose you. I am here. I am here. I am here. Thus ends the morning's reading.
Are you familiar with the film Being John Malkovich? The basic premise is that on floor 7.5 of an office building in New York City, there's this small, mysterious door that leads to a tunnel. And when you crawl through the tunnel, at the end, you suddenly drop down this steep incline and emerge inside the actor John Malkovich. You see what he sees, and you experience what he experiences. Now, in one scene, John Malkovich goes through the portal, and he winds up in a restaurant where absolutely everyone is John Malkovich. And what's more, every single word that anyone says is Malkovich. So, for example, "Good morning, how are you?" would sound like Malkovich, 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 Malkovich. Now, I'm telling you about this quirky movie because that restaurant scene could be me talking about covenant. Covenant, 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 covenant. I keep returning to it because it's so fundamental to who we are as a faith tradition. But please don't mistake my humorous analogy for mere frippery. Covenant is the beating heart of Unitarian Universalism. We need to live and breathe it. It's something we need to inhabit. Now, a quick word about what covenant is not. A covenant is not a contract. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs describes the difference beautifully. He says, "In a contract, 2 or more people come together, each pursuing their self-interest, to make a mutually advantageous exchange. In a covenant, 2 or more people, each respecting the dignity and integrity of the other, come together in a bond of loyalty and trust, to do together what neither can achieve alone. It isn't an exchange, it's a moral commitment. It's more like a marriage than a commercial transaction. Contracts are about interests. Covenants are about identity. Contracts benefit. Covenants transform. Contracts are about me and you. Covenants are about us. When one person breaks a contract, that's it. It's broken, and the other person is no longer bound by it. When you make a covenant, though, your own promises remain in effect, even if the other person falls short. It's deeply relational. And indeed, while contracts are very specific about what should or shouldn't happen, covenants are always aspirational. They remind us of who we're aiming to be. Now, this congregation has a beautiful covenant, which you adopted collectively 5 years ago. It begins, "We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously." Isn't that lovely? I feel those words and the deep well from which they were drawn. Now, before the covenant gets into any specifics, the opening text continues, "While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions." So spot on. Now, there then follows a series of 7 promises, each with several phrases expanding on their meaning. And again, it's beautiful language, and the aspirations are so worthwhile. And it gets long enough that I found it hard to keep track of everything. Maybe you've had that happen as well. Now, I figured if I'm going to advocate for making covenant central to the life of this congregation, then I needed to have those promises on the tip of my tongue all the time. The first promise, "Be open," launched me in an unexpectedly fruitful direction. The image of a set of wide open doors leapt into my mind. From there, I visualized a journey through an imagined building, using the elements of the covenant as touchstones along the way. And ever since, I've remembered the covenant. I hope the visualization helps you as well. Be open. You see a set of doors that have been flung wide open. They beacon to you with their welcome. Value differences. When you get to the threshold, you look down and see where brick meets wood. Each has its own color and texture, but both are beautiful. Listen deeply. When you step inside, you're greeted by a person who gives you detailed directions to the room where everyone is gathering. Use kind language. After the greeter finishes, you respond, "Thank you so much," and head down the hall. Speak our truths. Someone is deep in conversation and blocking the hallway, oblivious to your presence. "Excuse me," you say, "I need to get through." Work with conflict. The person turns to you and barks, "Can't you see I'm talking?" You apologize for the interruption and repeat that you just need to go past. The person sighs and moves aside. "I'm sorry I snapped at you. You caught me at a bad moment." You both smile and wish each other well. Seek humor and joy. You follow the sounds of laughter and chatter further into the building. You find the main hall and step inside. There, community awaits. It strikes me that our covenant here at USNH mimics the process that so many people go through when first visiting a new congregation. Coming through the open doors for the first time, discovering differences and connections, navigating systems that seem labyrinthine at times, maybe encountering places of discomfort or conflict, but then making their way back to the joy and community at the heart of it all. Unitarian Universalism is a demanding faith. Because we're not bound by a single set of beliefs or rituals, relationship becomes our sacrament, our sacred oath. And as many of us know all too well during this time of COVID and quarantine, relationships take a lot of work, even when you love the person dearly, sometimes especially then. As Emma Merchant said in today's reading, we have actively chosen to come and be here. I could leave if I wanted to, but I don't, because of the way that we have each nurtured this community. I choose to be stuck with you, for better or for worse. Now, for me, that element of choice is one of the most compelling and liberating aspects of Unitarian Universalism. We aren't here out of fear. We don't show up week after week because we're afraid we'll wind up in hell if we don't. Heck, as Universalists, eternal damnation isn't even on the table. We are here because we want to be in community with others as we go about the business of living and dying and making meaning in between. This congregation only exists because we keep choosing each other again and again. Covenant calls us to center relationship in everything that we do. It is the medium through which we practice our faith. Now, that may look like checking in with someone that you know is struggling. It may look like writing scores of get out the vote postcards. It can even look like taking a breath before responding to a toddler's meltdown, or giving your pet your full attention for a few minutes. Each of these examples actively values your bond with another being. When we take covenant seriously, when we choose to fulfill its commitments, we drop more fully into our own lives and aspirations. Unlike being John Malkovich, we're not pretending to be someone we're not. We're practicing how to be our best selves, and we're doing it together. Covenant, 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 which is to say, Amen and blessed be.
Break not the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving. Break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes embraces all the way. Wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of ruin and gift, until that human bonds remain unbroken. Join there a movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation will truly be themselves, stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. Friends, this is a statement worthy of our striving. So let us do so with courage and with kindness, that we may be ever better equipped to be a blessing to this world. Amen, and blessed be.